to the LifeShine video program. At LifeShine, we recklessly promote generosity, and we encourage our guests to let their light shine before others so they can glorify our Father in heaven. Today our guest is Steve Springer. Steve is an author, speaker, and baseball mentor to many of the professional stars in the Major League Baseball Association today. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, John. Yeah, finally.
So Steve, share a little bit about what you're doing, how'd you get there, why?
Well, I love my story. Everybody's got a story. I've been in baseball for 40 years now, and I was told my whole life, you're too small, you're only here because you're brother, you're never going to play in high school, you're never going to play in college, you'll never play pro ball, and you'll never get to the big leagues. And now Major League All-Stars call me to talk hitting. So I'm not into what other people think too often. I'm from Huntington Beach, California. When I was a freshman in high school, I was 4'11", 90 pounds. I got 3 at-bats the whole year. By the time I was a senior, I was 5'8", 140 pounds. So I grew 9 inches in high school. I went from tiny to small. I was the smallest senior in the school, but, never played varsity, but I'm a senior. It's my time to shine. And I had a sophomore take my job. I did not start my senior in high school. I went to Golden West Junior College where my brother was all-state. He was the best player in the state. I'm thinking the coach knows I'm coming there. He didn't have to call me because he didn't. And I went out for the team, and I got cut, which is baffling to me to this day on how bad he thought I was. Like, my brother's the best player in the state, and I got cut. So I got a job at Disneyland working on the canoes, and about 3 days later, my brother came home with the uniform because 3 guys quit. I was 19 years old, freshman in college. I got 3 at-bats the whole year, never played, and I played in the big leagues. So I speak all over the country on the mental side of hitting. My company's called Quality at Bats, and I'm just trying to inspire young kids and parents that nobody's too small. Nobody knows when you're going to grow except for God. And, it's like I said, I was told my whole life you'll never make it, and I did.
So we've known each other for a while, and one of the things that I always enjoy are Springerisms. I don't know if you made these up or you got these somewhere else, but you're the one I got them from. So what are your favorite Springerisms?
Oh, I don't know. My favorite line when I speak is opening day every day. Like, too many people let yesterday beat them up today in baseball. And I've came to the conclusion that if you can learn how to play every day in baseball like it's opening day, because nobody in the history of baseball has ever played opening day with no confidence. Why? Because they have no yesterday beating it up yet. And then on day number 2 it starts when you go 0 for 4, now you're 0 for 2 today, and now in your mind you're 0 for 6 and you're letting yesterday's bad day play today. So I love the opening day mindset. I love to compete with confidence.
Yeah, the confidence thing. I mean, I think that's what you deliver to your clients and the people that are listening to you.
Well, I believe that every baseball player is going to compete. They have to. They're in the game. Right? Every businessman is going to compete today. They have to. They're selling their business. But in my mind, if they're not competing with confidence, they're playing with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And whether it's baseball, whether it's sales, whether it's anything that you do in life, if you're not doing it with confidence, for me, something's wrong mentally. And for me, it's usually yesterday beating you up today.
And so, Quality at Bats, you are speaking to coaches, students, kids?
All above.
All the above.
All above. I made an audio CD 20 years ago. Didn't even know what I had. When I first did it, I was like talking to a mic or a tape recorder, and I gave it to my brother, and he listened to it, and he said, "Dude, that's good. You need to clean that up and get it out there." The car door was opening, ding, ding, ding. And so I went to a recording studio, and I made this audio on what I teach in baseball, and I gave one to George Horton, who was the Hall of Fame coach at Cal State Fullerton. Didn't know if he was going to listen to it. He had his whole team listen to it 5 hours before they played the #1 team in the country, Miami, and they swept them. And he said, "Spring, it changed the way we thought." So that's when I figured out that I had something. I would speak all over the country for free and just give it away. And then, all of a sudden, you need a job, and you realize that, people will spend some money to help their kids. And I had 1 CD at the time, and it was I sold it for $20. And there could be 100 kids at a camp and 12 parents. I was selling 12 CDs. Right, little Johnny ain't walking around with a 20. That parent would.
Yeah, right.
So every time I spoke for free, I tried to tell the guy, "Please have the parents there." And then I ended up making a couple more audios, and now I got a bundle, and I got a book, and I love speaking in front of kids and trying to change their lives and give them hope. because I was told my whole life, like I said earlier, that you're too small, you're only here because you're brother. And I love the parents there because I believe that the parent is the kid's number one coach because he lives with them, right? And I don't care what you do for a living, bro. If I need a plumber, I'm not calling Nolan Arenado or Mark Trumbo. I'm calling a plumber. Well, if my kid wants to play baseball, I need to be able to talk that language with my kid. You know, too many kids quit this game at 13 years old because of the pressure that's put on them by the one who loves them the most, us parents. And Johnny Testosterone coach yelling at my 9-year-old to win the Burger King championship. And all of a sudden the kid's like, I don't like this feeling, and he quits. And the parent will call me, well, what happened? I'm like, I know what happened. You were a whack job. That's what happened. And so I'm just trying to train parents and coaches. And, you know, I've spoken in front of 6,000 coaches 3 times, the exact same speech every time. But they keep having me back because I believe we give ourselves too much credit to remember what we're taught. And, you know, I'm the same guy every day teaching what I teach.
Yeah, we have to listen again and again. I mean, you've talked about your students, the people that are listening to your CD, listening to it certainly more than once, maybe even 100 times.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. I mean, I have Major League All-Stars that call me. A.J. Pollock with the Dodgers, I mean, he got my audio when he was in a sophomore at Notre Dame. And he said, Spring, I did the 4 things you talk about. Walk up to the plate with confidence, with an attainable goal to hit the ball hard, attack the inside part of a speed you're looking for with baseball, and I'm there to help my team win the game. And he did those 4 things every single day. He walked up the plate like it was opening day every day. And he ended up MVP of the Cape. Well, he ends up being a first-round pick, and I ended up meeting him, and he told me the story, and we probably talked twice a week his whole career. And I talked to him the same way I talked to the dad of a 10-year-old. Is how do we become a better competitor than we are a player? You know, if your compete level ever goes below your ability, you're underachieving. And there's no such thing as an overachiever in the big leagues. Like Dustin Pedroia was not an overachiever, but because he was 5'6", no, he was a really good player. But do you know how many underachievers there are in baseball and underachievers are in life? Because you know, there's so many guys that first-round picks that can't get out of A-ball. And it's not because of their physical ability, it's because of their mental ability and their mind. And too many people let their mind get in the way of their ability instead of help their ability, from what I've learned through baseball.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about achievement a little bit later, but before we do that, I want to talk about generosity. Because you talked about, you know, you played some ball and played Major League Baseball.
Very briefly. I was a legend in the wrong league, John. I spent 11 years in AAA. And at the time, I'm like, really, God, 11 years, huh? And now I know why to do exactly what I'm doing right now.
And when you jumped out, and you mentioned that you spoke really at no charge, gratis, pro bono, which is generosity personified. Yeah. What did the people that were listening to you say then, you know, when it was, you know, they didn't expect anything, right? What was their experience like when you talked to them?
I want to be generous. I want to give. I want to give grace. I want to, you know, I mean, God gave it to me. Why wouldn't I give it away? You know, because I always think that, you know, if I need something, I'm going to be nice. No, I want to be nice even though I don't need anything. And when you start talking about gratitude, and I like helping people. I mean, that's the bottom line. I learned a long time ago, and it ties into money because we need to make a living. But when I try to help people, I make money. When I try to make money, I don't make money. So my whole thing was to give early, and it's came back, you know, tenfold on just by helping people and being grateful. And, you know, there was a little girl, a softball player going to Cal Baptist, and she set out a nice little tweet, Steve Springer's the man, his tape's the best. I don't even know who she is. So I DM'd her and I thanked her. And I said, if you want the live version, give me a call. Well, she calls me back with her parents. And I talked to her for 15 minutes for free because she did something nice for me. I'll do nice. I want to be nice too. You know, it's about being a good person.
Yeah.
With gratitude, you know. I mean, and I've done that so many times. But I also get pleasure out of the emails that I get that I've changed their life. Not only the player, but the parents on what to think. And it just makes you feel better.
Well, you know, you talk about kindness, you know, and I think of the fruit of the Spirit. And I think that's where generosity really plays its best role. Yeah. And you were talking about, you know, I think it was the general manager of the Blue Jays, and how he treated everybody equally.
Yeah, it was the manager, John Gibbons.
Okay.
And he was one of my best friends. He was my roommate in 1986. And he treated the security guard parking his car at a Major League Stadium the same exact way as the president of the club when he walked in his office. And I'm not sure that everybody's like that, And then all of a sudden you'll get that guy that's your buddy all through the minor leagues, and then he gets to the big leagues and he changes. Not a return phone call anymore,
Mm-hmm.
He also and we came up to the conclusion he didn't change. That's really who he was. And now he's got a little bit of power, and he's not treating people the right way. But I just believe that you learn from other people. Like, I didn't come out of the womb with what I know, right? If you say something I like, I'm giving you credit once, and then it's mine, And that's how we learn stuff. And I'm always talking baseball, and I'm always, God's given me the ability to speak on baseball. And when you start, listening and going to coaches conventions and learning your craft, and that's what I'm hoping to do. Like, I've spoken in front of 6,000 coaches 3 times, and I go to the convention and I walk through there with my quality at bat jacket, and I'll see this kid just eyeballing me like in awe. I'm like, "What's up, buddy?" He couldn't believe he's talking to me because his dad made him listen to my stuff when he was 12, and now he's coaching it at 28. And it's just so cool. But I'm the most approachable person in the world. Like, I cannot not see a kid that plays baseball or softball and not say hello and give him this wristband. I have to. My wife knows. Like, we'll be downtown Huntington, and she knows what a baseball player looks like. She said, "I'll be in the store, Steve," because I have to talk to that kid. And I try, and it's not anything. Yeah, would I like to sell a CD? Absolutely, but I also want to. I call it a CD audiophile now, thank God. I want to hug the guy that invented the audiophile. And it's just a matter of you never know who you're going to meet. Why wouldn't I be nice to everybody? When I talk to like salesmen or insurance guys, I need to like you as a person before I give you my business. So why wouldn't I be nice?
That's a great starting point. And I think that's where we should all start. And the other side of that, and you mentioned this earlier, right? It gives you pleasure to give out. I like to use the word joy. Yeah. Right? Where else do you get joy? You get joy giving. Think when you're giving, and you've given lots, tons in the course of your career and your life, and you're continuing to go forward. Is there any story that jumps out as being really amazing?
Well, I'm weird. Like my kids think I'm the weirdest person in the world because I make them split a Coke at dinner, right? Because I want to spend that extra money, but yet I buy their friend a little car because they're down on their luck for $2,500. And then they think they have to pay it back, and I don't make them pay it back, and I don't know, man. I think about tithing. I think about where my money goes. Okay, well, I didn't tithe that much, my 10%, and I'll buy my friends a car. Who does that?
Yeah.
Well, but split a Coke.
But part of that is learning the lessons of money, right? Yeah. I think there's some financial literacy that you're teaching and sharing with your kids about splitting the Coke. Yeah. At the same time, there are people that are underserved or in a spot where they need a hand up. Yeah. Not necessarily a handout, but a hand up. And we're here to make that happen for them.
Well, and that does give you a good feeling when you see them glass up because they're so happy that they don't have to pay you back. That it's grace. It's not grace and mercy, but it's similar to that. And just think how thankful we are that God saved us. And so we can give a little bit more with a good heart. With the Spirit, like you said, the fruit of the Spirit. Well, if you ain't walking in the Spirit, there ain't gonna be no fruit. Right. And the flesh and the Spirit. I got a lot of flesh in me, bro, and it's. I've always joked if I could just flip flop my flesh and my spirit, I'd be a pretty solid Christian. Yeah. But that's me beating myself up. And that's where Satan wants me. He wants me to beat myself up, and I'm sick of being sick. So I'm gonna live opening day every day with Jesus.
Yeah. Well, and you think about that feeling that you get right when you're generous. Where else do you get that? Oh. I don't know where else you get it. When you're giving. And you're giving grace, and you're giving generously, and that thing that you get in your heart that just kind of, and the person just kind of says thank you, and there's, sort of an overwhelming pouring out of emotion that comes from them, and it's just like, wow, that's just, where else are you going to get that feeling? Yeah. You're not going to get it anywhere but with generosity.
Well, and you start thinking like that for me, like who's been generous to me? Like I needed a job 2 years ago, because COVID sort of killed the speaking, no groups of 80 kids.
It killed speaking.
Yes, and I work to live. I don't live to work. I mean, I got my priorities maybe mixed up. I don't know.
No, I think you got them just right.
Yeah, but I called up Billy Bean with Moneyball, and I go, bro, I need a job. He's like, dude, we're firing people right now. I said, I know, but they weren't in your wedding. And he gave me a job, scouting, pro scout. So I'm going on my second year, and I'm thankful to him. I'm grateful for him, because you know who your buddies are when you need something, a job, and that you don't get that call back. Weren't we buddies?
Yeah.
And he really pulled through for me. And it wasn't a full-on courtesy. I know what I'm doing, but it's hard to get back in baseball if you've been out for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very grateful for Billy to hook me up.
I think God's playing a role there too. That's just my belief. Let's talk about achievement for just a minute. And you talk about underachievement and achievement. When it comes to achievement, and I think it applies, from a baseball standpoint or to a business standpoint, there's, we're trying to achieve, we're trying to accomplish something. So what are 3 things that you really need to avoid?
To avoid, well, for me, you need to avoid praise. Avoid, like when people praise you all the time, you start thinking it's about you, and it's God's through you, because you start digging yourself when people start, oh, you're the best, everybody's like, I don't like thinking about myself all the time, but it's hard not to do because everybody wants to talk baseball. And so I'm always talking about myself, and instead of, talking about him.
Well, I think though, even when you talk about yourself, you then turn it around and you share wisdom that makes it about them, right? Because that wisdom, you already have it. They don't have it. And so you're giving at the same time. So it starts maybe with you, but then there's this outpouring, there's this giving thing that goes out there. Yeah. And I think your comment about avoiding the sins of yesterday, so that they don't beat you up today.
Yeah, I think a lot of men go through that, and if somebody's out there talking to them, stop. I mean, that's where Satan wants you, and sometimes we need to go on what the word says and not how we feel, like, because the battle's real for me. Mm-hmm. and it's not, the Bible says I'll never get out of his hand. Like we think that we could lose our salvation sometimes. No, God's not us. Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah. And so, I just don't think that, God's going to change his mind that he loved me and he saved me. And, I could have all these thoughts or whatever, but it's what the word says and not the way I feel sometimes.
And then the other one that I think you heard was something about avoiding thinking that God's like a cop with a radar gun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I spoke in front of 6,000 coaches, and I prayed before I spoke. Nobody does that. And then at the end, I gave them a little testimony about, not that I was Billy Graham or anything. I just said, for a long time I had God as a cop behind a billboard with a radar gun waiting to trap me. And that's not who he is. Right? He's love, he's grace, he's mercy, he's more grace and more mercy. And if it wasn't for grace, we're done. And that was it. And then I get an email the next day from some coach, and he said, hey man, your speech was great, but you smoked me when you started talking about God, because I had walked away from God, and now I'm back with him. And I got chills, and then I sent him back, well, I guarantee you he didn't walk away from you. And he knows exactly what's going on. So it's pretty cool.
He never walks away from you.
No, thank God.
So when it comes to achievement, let's talk about what should you do? Whether it's in baseball or business, it's all this, right?
Well, achieving's great. It's what you do with the achievement. Because like I said, I could start digging myself a little bit, that was me. Uh-huh. And, when you really go back and look at your life, and I just turned 61 2 days ago, you start thinking about where your mistakes are, where you had success. And I just know for me, when I walk in the Spirit instead of the flesh, it doesn't always go perfectly, but it sure does give you a little bit more peace. And I think that's what you're looking for. You're looking for peace. You're looking for strength and faith. When I get strength and faith, I feel my walk is better. My faith is down, and you need to be around Christian men more than anything. And iron sharpens iron, And I think that's where you want to be. I was talking to a coach today that had a Bible study this morning, and it was, just awesome about, just talking about baseball with the analogies of God involved in it and how much he loves us. And it was a really cool Bible study.
I know that every time I get around Christian men, Christian groups, right, it's like a tune-up. It's a place that tunes my head up and puts me back in the right place.
Buddy, I'll go to a Christian retreat and I'll be up there. I might not ever sin again. And then you come down the mountain, you're like, okay, well, that's not happening. But it's great to be around men and that love Jesus. And I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for a guy named Pete McKenzie, who's, like walking Jesus. And I go to Bible study every morning in Irvine at 7 o'clock at Voyagers Church. If any men are looking out there to turn that spirit up a little bit.
Steve, you've got a remarkable career. You've got a book coming out springtime, right?
The book's out. We're hoping for a movie. I'm looking for the baseball version of Rudy. I got a writer that's supposed to be brilliant and a producer, and I believe that I'm the baseball version of Rudy. I didn't start in high school. I got cut in college. I played in the big leagues. Now All-Stars call me. That's a take better than Rudy in my mind.
Yeah.
And if it's done right, and I believe it will be, that hopefully one day, God willing, because if he doesn't want it, I don't want it. And I prayed that a long time ago, that, but I believe in my story, and I believe that God set me up a ministry that I don't even know if I'm ready for yet, and helping kids. And there's so many good baseball ministries where they're actually baseball. It's really about a ministry using baseball. Sometimes I think I want to be a Christian that's involved in baseball, not a baseball guy that's a Christian, and I know I don't get that right all the time, but I got them a little backwards at times, but it's been awesome. And you don't know who you're helping. I was at a Christian retreat, all Major League Baseball players, minor league baseball players and their wives, about 10 years ago now. Didn't know anybody, and talk about being grateful, right? Me and my wife were scuffling. And I went to this thing when I was single, so I called up Eddie Taubensee, who was the leader of it, see if he got any scholarships. I didn't have a lot of money, I spent 14 years in the minor leagues, so it didn't set me up for life.
Didn't have a lot of money, yeah.
And he calls me back, and he said, "You're in." I'm like, "What do you mean I'm in?" He's like, "You're in, scholarship. I'll get my people to call you, airline." I'm walking around Target, I think, and I've got tears in my eyes. Talk about being grateful, right? And so we go there. And that's when I was in like a 7-man group at 10 o'clock at night. I had to introduce myself. My name's Steve Springer. I'm the mental coach of the Blue Jays. And I see this 20-year-old kid just smile. I said, "You got my CD, don't you, buddy?" He's like, "I can't believe you're here, man." He said, "I can't wait till I tell my brother-in-law you're here. He's going to flip." I said, "Who's your brother-in-law?" He said, "Ben Zobrist."
Oh.
MVP of the Cubs World Series, right? He said, I go, "He has my stuff?" He's like, "Wait till you finds out you're here." So I met him that night at midnight. He gave me the biggest hug I've ever had. I said, "Dude, you changed my life." He was 25 years old in AA, and 2 years later was a Major League All-Star at 27. He said, "Non-confident Ben, stop playing." And that's, in my spiel, in my audios, too many players that the wrong guy play. Because we all got two players. And I was like, I got confident Ben Zobrist, good player. Non-confident Ben Zobrist sucked. He wasn't very good. Can't play anymore. How do we get the right guy playing is what I teach. And the more and more I teach, the more and more I realize that the only stat that I want you to care about is how many games in a row, how many days in a row can you show up and compete with confidence and have fun. That's it. It doesn't mean you get 3 hits. It doesn't mean you get every sale in business. It means the right guy's hitting. It means the right guy's selling.
The right guy's
because
showing
non-confident you sucks, so he can't play anymore. And I don't know, he just gives him freedom. When I was at the Blue Jays and my boss hired me, he said, "Spring, if you help one guy, you're worth your money." I said, "Tony, if I don't help 100, fire me, bro. I ain't teaching get your hands here, get your feet here." He's like, "Oh, you're so right. Go to triple if you want to. Go to AA, get your butt down there with 17, 18-year-old kids and teach them how to compete with confidence when they're not getting hits," right? So we got this one kid, we give him $1 million. He's never gone 1 for 20 because he's in high school, but now he's playing pro ball. And he goes 1 for 20 and he walks back to the dugout like somebody stole his puppy. You better hope that's immaturity and not makeup, right? I'll bring that kid in the office and I'll say, if I told you that you could be a 25-year-old big leaguer, deal or no deal, and spend 10 years in the big leagues. Well, their initial thought is, no, I want to be Mike Trout. I want to be 19, 20. I'm like, no, he's a freak, bro, and you ain't him, right? 25 years old, guarantee 10 years. And they say yes. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That's 7 years you're not playing in the big leagues. That's 7 years to learn how to get great at being a better competitor than you are a player. 7 years how to get great at being a better defender, being a better base runner, everything that goes involved with being a big leaguer. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. That's when I retire. There's your 10 years. But we all want it right now, right? Everybody wants to be put in a microwave instead of an oven, right? Put your kid in an oven. That 12-year-old, trust me, Vanderbilt's not panicking when he has a bad weekend in baseball. But we think it's all about right now. And I believe that's where a big trap is. In baseball, it's in life instead of thinking big picture.
Big picture, long term. It's not about instant gratification.
Oh, you see this kid just go, oh, thank you.
Oh,
So
I
he
got
can
time
breathe.
to work.
Yes.
I can breathe. I
Yeah.
can hone my craft. That Ben Zobrist story gives me goosebumps. That is
bro.
just really amazing.
It was really cool. You know, him, Nolan Arenado. I played junior football with Nolan Arenado's dad when I was 8. So I've known Nolan his whole life. And this guy's a living Hall of Famer, third baseman with St. Louis now, is with the Rockies. And, you know, Paul Goldschmidt, probably a living Hall of Famer. It's mind-blowing. Like, these guys call me to talk hitting. And I cannot go into a conversation without thinking about the mental side.
Yeah, and compete with confidence. I mean, and I don't think that, again, I don't think it matters whether it's baseball or football or sports or business or just life in general.
Well, the analogy of baseball and sales are off the chart. And I had a guy ask me, he said, hey, we're having a baseball theme. I got 50 employees coming in. We're at the Hyatt in Huntington. Will you come tell some stories? I said, no, I want to give a presentation. And he's like, great. So I walk in the room and I go, I give you guys permission not to get the sale. And the guy's like, what'd you say? I said, you can't control me saying yes. I need to get great at giving your presentation. Because you give the greatest presentation in sales, and that guy says no, you know what that's called in baseball? It's called a line out.
Yeah.
I did everything right. I did
yeah.
everything right. It's 9 against 1. And anyway, these guys had their best September in 60 years by 30% by what their employees were thinking when they showed up to work. I said, opening day, man. That phone call at 4:55 when you want to go home, you answer that like it's opening day, bro, because it might be the biggest grand slam of your life. You don't know. You know, and these guys didn't even have to cold call. I'm like, isn't that like fishing in a bucket? Isn't it like your job not to screw it up when they call? You know, and I had one guy come up to me and he said, dude, I almost didn't come to this. I said, I'm so glad I was here. It was really cool. And I don't know, man, I believe that baseball, you know, God loves baseball because there's so many analogies. In my bundle, I call it, I have an audio on the analogy of baseball and the Christian walk with Pete McKenzie, who's, like I said, walking Jesus and just the best. His spirit is so soft, and he's always talking about grace. See, we think we can earn our way to heaven. We think God could love us more. And he said, I could be in my deepest center, my best retreat with my hands in the air, praising him, and he loves me exactly the same, which is baffling to me, but I'll take it.
There's nothing you can do to
I'll
earn his
take
grace.
it.
He gives it to you. He gives it to you.
So, you know, I got the chills. Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, goosebumps to me are a sign that you're.
It's like an
in the
angel
right place.
taking you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. So, well, listen, I just want to thank you immensely for coming on the show and sharing your stories. It's spectacular, and I'll be using your Springerisms in my practice as well.
I got them, bro. I mean, it's been great. I've been blessed. It's you know, it is better to give than receive. You know, and when you start helping people, it's like I said, man, you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know who you're going to impact, and that's what I love. I mean, there's so many guys in baseball that I don't even know about yet that have my stuff, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So wherever you are today and you're watching this, thank you for joining us. If you got a minute, scroll down, leave a comment, click that subscribe button, and you're welcome to join us at the free LifeShine community at lifeshine.live. So thanks again for joining us, and may your light shine brighter today before others so they may see your good works.